So guys, I have this video here from Gassy TV, 4 months updates, PoE2 launch when. So this is basically a summary of the interview that Jonathan did with Try. I did my own summary about this. That video is already on the channel. You can watch it. But well, it is recommended to me right here. Look at this. This is my own summary of the thing. But I want to watch this one to see what Gassy is saying in here, because he has also cool opinions about the game sometimes. So I want to see what he's saying in here. Let's go.
Hey guys, Gassy TV here with another Path of Exile 2 video. We just finished watching the Talkative Tries interview with Jonathan Rogers, co-founder and game director of Path of Exile 2. I made some notes with the most important things that I think that which stood out from this. So I want to do like a TLDR read through and talk about these little topics. Obviously, we'll link in the descriptions down below to the entire.
That sound is the aliens from South Park, right?
Entire interview over at Talkative Tries video on his YouTube channel. So check that out. So the first thing that stood out in the initial start of the podcast or the interview was scheduling. Essentially, they're talking about locking in features versus locking in dates. And they've decided to further go back to what they've done in the past years of the progression of PoE1, which is locking in dates. Basically, they're confirming that they want to settle on a 4-month league cycle. That means 3 launches a year instead of 4, which we've had for.
But if you play both PoE1 and PoE2, then they are 6 launches per year, every 2 months. And I intend to do that. I intend to do that, guys. To go PoE1, PoE2, PoE1, PoE2, PoE1, PoE2. And every 2 months I have new content. The content never fucking stops. I think that is awesome. So I do agree that it is cool to have the date set in stone. And if a feature doesn't make it, it doesn't make it. We push it back to the next patch, to the next league, to the next whatever. Now, what I will say is that will be less painful in PoE2 when the game is actually fully developed, right? But right now that we are missing classes and acts, every time they decide to push back a class or to push back an act, that one is going to hurt. What do I mean by that? For example, let's imagine, we know, by the way, I predicted this before they announced this. I told you, guys, 0.3 is going to come in August. I predicted it, and they confirmed it. It is coming in August. But what happens if 0.3 drops in August and we don't have the Druid? I will rage like a little fucking bitch. Because what the fuck? It is almost a year. And if you don't drop it in August, that means that you will wait 4 more months. It will be December, and it will be a whole fucking year without the Druid. At that point, you are fucking me in the ass too fucking much. So, yeah, I will ask you. I agree with you taking this decision that setting up the date, and what doesn't make it, you push it back. I think it is the correct thing to do because now players know where things are happening. Cool. I love it. But for the love of God, man, please put the Druid in 0.3 as much as you can. Do everything in your power to make it happen. Please. And with the wolf, not only the bear, with also the wolf, please.
Over a decade. And so we're going to have 4-month leagues for both Path of Exile 1 and Path of Exile 2, including the early access. And they seem to be aiming for this to be with a 2-month separation. So there's.
By the way, if we trust talking about the 4 months, let's look at the calendar. August 0.3. They already talked about 0.4 in that interview, which means that when the next patch after 0.3, which is 4 months, drops, that is not going to be the release. So, August, September, October, November, in December or November or December, you get the next one. And it is going to be 0.4. It is not going to be the release. 4 months after that, you get January, February, March, or April. Do you remember that interview when he said, I know we are not going to be able to drop it this year, but we are aiming for March or April next year? So I think that should be, because they can delay it again if things are not ready, but that should be the patch 1.0. March of April next year. Right? Let's assume, let's look at the calendar, right? In August, let's say like 15 August, you drop 0.3. 1 month September, 2 months October, 3 months November, December 15, you drop 0.4. Then you go January, February, March, and 15 of April, you drop or 0.5 or 1.0. If you don't drop 0.5, that means that 1.0 would be to August of next year. That is too much. That is too much. That is almost 2 years of early access. So my prediction is, if they don't push it anymore, 1.0 will be April 2026. You can write that, you can cash it, you can take it to the fucking bank. 1.0 will be April 2026. What up, motherfucker? Hey, clip this shit so you send it to me when they announce it. Because I am always fucking right.
Going to be a PoE1 league, then 2 months later, there's going to be a PoE2 league, then 2 months later, PoE1 league, rinse and repeat.
We are going to be trapped in here forever, but it is a cool type of trap.
However, this does seem to make December launch kind of a long shot, because if we're going to have a PoE1 league now in the, what date is it? 27th, right? 29th, sorry. 29th now because it's past midnight. We're going to be in a position where we get this in June, so 2 months later. That means that PoE2 League 0.3 should come in August. And then a December launch for 0.4.
Not happening.
Maybe that is what Jonathan wants to be, the 1.0. That seems like a very, very long shot for that to be launched. So then Jonathan has said in previous interviews that they're aiming for either a December launch or a March launch by that.
Hey, he watched the interview that I referenced. By the way, if you want to know about that interview, I have a video going over that interview too. Dude, I have all the news about PoE, by the way. If you subscribe to me, if you follow me, you will be up to date with everything related to Path of Exile. You will know everything that you need to know, dude. What the fuck?
March launch is now instead going to be in April instead, based on what we've heard here at least. But
okay, he's also thinking what I'm thinking with an April launch if they don't delay anymore. But at that point, if you delay again, it will be August. It is too much, right? It is too much. You can't delay it to delay it to August again, dude. It is almost 2 years of early access. You have to release it in the April launch, dude, in the April league.
You know, we'll see what happens. They have said that if the new classes aren't done before the launch time, that they will very possibly release the game in a full 1.0 launch where it's free to play without all the new classes and introduce them as time goes by. Another thing that was pointed out in the interview was the return of Sana was hinted and mentioned several times, at which point Jonathan never denied that this was happening, and Try brought it up.
I'll be honest, guys, I don't know who the fuck Sana is. I know that she's like the daughter of some boss, the Shaper or the Sire or the motherfucker. Why is she so important? I don't know why people talk so much about her. Why is Sana important? Why do people care so much about Sana? The only thing that I can think of is that she's really fucking hot. That is the only thing that comes to mind.
Multiple times, and Jonathan's response was to consistently be in agreement, or at least nod in agreement to all of these statements. So there was no denying that Sana might be returning. Obviously, we've seen the roast petals, which is basically a Sana's signature move. So from the teasers and the reveal teaser, I guess, for the secrets of the Atlas with the originator that we've seen. However, something I did not know was that apparently PoE2 is not available in China yet. And this explains all the Chinese.
I didn't know that either. I thought that PoE2 was on China. I was trying to investigate about the server in China, and I found out a lot of information about the server for PoE1, and I found out that the server for that the China server for PoE1 has a lot of pay-to-win features. And I think that one of the reasons now, in retrospect, now that he's saying that the China server has not launched yet, I think it is because they are putting the pay-to-win features for PoE2 for the China server. Also, I have the theory, and I think that at this point, it is not a theory. It makes sense, right? that people always come up with the conspiracy theories of Tencent moving the strings of GGG because now they own the 100% of GGG, so they are moving the strings. My theory is, first of all, Tencent has a history of being hands-off with the stuff. They let companies do what they want. Plus, I think that Tencent, what they really care about is the China server. What they really care about is the China server. That is where the money is going to come from because of the pay-to-win they are going to put in there. And for the rest of the world, hey, they take the W, but they don't care. I believe it is like that, dude. Maybe I am on hopium, I don't know. But it makes logical sense to me.
Traders. I know some people have been talking about the plague of RMTers and whatnot, which is more, it's less frowned upon in the Asian regions
Hell
of
no.
gaming. So this is obviously something that hopefully will have a better impact on the Western side of the clients or the community of the gameplay for us if the Chinese realms gets the actual early access. So hopefully that'll happen sooner rather than later. However, that is on Tencent to deal with. I know that.
Do you guys think that the real money trading will go down when the China server drops? I think it won't have any effect. I think it won't matter.
But they have some other features that we don't have in the Western side for PoE1. Maybe that's the reason it's delayed when it comes to progression of this for PoE2. I don't know, but it's not available in China, and I didn't know that. So it's going to be pretty cool. Another thing they brought up was the topic of mid-league changes. Now, all of us have been very vocal about this, especially when it comes to Spark in the 0.1 patch. So overpowered, nerf it. And every time that's been brought up, they basically said, no, we can't do it because it will piss people off. And then they were like, okay, but they're nerfing everything to the ground in 0.2. But then we had a similar experience where instead of Spark, we're now doing Lightning Spear, and it's just Lightning Spears everywhere. And basically what Jonathan said is, you just can't do it. And
by the way, Jonathan is right. I do believe that people that complain about that are pussies, but at the same time, Jonathan is right. If 50% of your player base is playing Lightning Spear, and you nerf Lightning Spear, you are going to piss off 50% of your player base. Not worth it. It is just not fucking worth it. Let them have fun with their Lightning Spear and one-shot everything, and we'll fix it next patch. So, next league. So, fuck that. I agree with Jonathan. He's right. It is an unnecessary storm that you don't need. You don't need to do that. Just let it be.
Reason for this is that the perception of this doesn't matter if the game is in early access or not. If they were to nerf something like that, they would basically, what Jonathan said, was sweeping the chair from underneath your feet. And why the fuck you would stand on the chair to begin with is a mystery to me, but that was the metaphor being used. And essentially the idea is that you would just piss people off, and that's why they never want to do nerfs. However, they are more keen on doing mid-league buffs, even in 0.2, and they said that they're aiming for something to happen with this post the 3.26 launch in PoE1 before 0.3 comes out for PoE2. Build diversity fixes. They've been talking about rebalancing of skill scaling to improve build diversity of viable endgame main abilities in the game in general. This was one of the things they wanted to talk about, and Jonathan started answering the questions in the way that they kept leaning on unique items being a fix to a lot of these issues. And
now I have not a problem with that because I think that is cool. I think that builds using at least one unique item is a good thing for me because it is cool. There is not a gameplay reason behind this. I just think it is cool using at least one unique item, right?
Many topics and many questions that were brought up throughout the entire interview, which you can watch at a whole. It's linked in the descriptions down below. You can hear how they're essentially leaning on the idea that more unique items is going to fix a lot of the issues, which seems to be the to-go-to answer.
Don't you find a dichotomy in here, guys? I've been talking lately about how they are releasing new socketables, chase socketables to put in your gear, but you are not really giving me choices to free up my sockets to put in those new sockets because I am using the sockets to solve my resistances and attributes. And that is with rare gear. But if you use uniques, it is even harder because you guys know that to fix resistances when using uniques, it is definitely harder, and you rely even more on runes and sockets to fix your resistances when you are using several uniques. But now they say they want you to rely more on uniques. At the same time, they are also giving you the sockets. Like, don't you find that these two things are contradictory? I understand that you can also use the argument that no, these are more options, because you can go with a build that go with uniques and solve resistances with sockets, or a build that goes with rares and you solve the resistance with your gear, and then you can put the new chase sockets. And these are two styles of playing. But wouldn't it be cooler if you could mix and match everything with everything? It would be definitely cooler, right? Because, I don't know, I think it is contradictory to want me to go for the new sockets and at the same time want me to go with uniques that make getting sockets harder because I need to fix resistances with runes. What I just want with this is give us more ways of fixing resistances. Or give me resistances in the tree, lower the penalty for resistances from the campaign. Give me more resistances for affixes in gear. I don't know, but hey, that is what I'm saying, dude.
Felt a little bit so, because I am personally not a big fan of that being the solution, but hey, maybe I'm wrong. I'm not perfect. I'm not a developer for that matter either, but we'll see. But that is seemingly going to be the answer to a lot of the questions, is that, well, more unique items or more mechanics or crafting, that's going to fix all of these issues somehow. For example, Divine Orbs and Sync being, oh, we just need more uniques. I'm not sold on that being the solution.
I agree with Gassin here, by the way. I agree with Gassin here. Gassin has been saying this for a while, and I believe it is like the only YouTuber that I have seen. There are several content creators saying it, but he's like the one has been saying it more. That we need a sync for Divine Orbs to help combat inflation. And I think he's completely right every time he says this. And he's saying that apparently Jonathan thinks that, I don't know if this is true, because we don't know what they are working on behind the scenes. Maybe they are working on a divine sync. But his interpretation here is that Jonathan thinks that releasing more uniques is kind of a divine sync because people use the divine on the unique to try to get the highest possible rolls, right? And he thinks that that is not enough of a sync. And I have to agree with Gassin here. Just releasing more uniques so people use the divines on the uniques is not enough of a sync for divines. We need more ways of using our divine orbs. That is completely true, dude. That is completely true. Because divine orbs in the game right now are not something that you use. They are just a trading currency. They are just basically a coin. They are a dollar bill. Nothing more than that. They are useless by themselves. They just allow you to buy other shit. That is what divine orbs are in the game right now. I agree, yes, I think it's just a symptom of the rest of the game in-game systems not being complete yet, like resisting the tree. I agree with that, Bill, man, dude. I know that a lot of the things, you know what is weird? That a lot of the things that we say or we complain about the game, and myself that I do videos complaining about, they probably already have the solution behind the scenes, and we don't know yet, because it is something that they haven't announced, it is something that hasn't come out. They are probably working on the solution in a big new system that is coming in 0.4 and we don't know. It is like that. Like a lot of the problems that are in the game, probably they already thought about the fix and we don't know. But at the same time, since we don't know, we are not sure if they work on the fix. So we have to point it out in case they are not working on the fix to bring it up to their attention so they work on the fix, right?
I think that was brought up was one of my questions, actually, which was better scaling of XYZ archetypes, such as minions, not just specific minions, but minions was one of the main things brought up in this. And the idea here is to give you an idea of the problem here. In PoE1, you have multiple venues of scaling minions damage as a specific to that archetype. You have minion damage at several sources, you have minion specific modifiers on things like rings. In PoE2, however, those modifiers only exist on the scepter, which is why a really high roll scepter is very expensive to purchase. And then the only other scaling you get for minions outside of that, more or less, there are some very, very niche outliers like the ever-grasping ring. You only have level of minion scaling, just levels. That's all there is. So I was really very curious to hear about the answer here, and the answer we received was, sure, we are open to doing it, essentially. So there was nothing of value that came out of the answer in this question. Sadly, it felt like more of a political answer more than anything. So, I mean, obviously, the best answer here to say, sure, we definitely want to do that, but
it is at the same time, I understand that Gassi wanted a more concise answer, but the question itself leans too much into this type of answer. Because there is no way in hell that he just right there off the cuff tells you, yes, we are planning this and that for each archetype. It is impossible to give you that answer, right?
It doesn't seem like that's something we're going to see in the near future, at least. Another question I sent over to Try that he squeezed in is later. Appreciate that, by the way, Try. If you're watching this, I do appreciate those questions. The socketables. Chase sockets replacing the idea of fixing attributes and resistances, but with the new chase sockets, socketables, they are pitching the idea that we're not going to use them for the purpose in the end game.
I felt so validated when I saw that Try asked this question. And I didn't know that Gassi was the one that pitched this question to Try, which means that me and Gassi are in tune with this problem. I released 2 videos talking about this problem, and some people told me that I was crazy. Dude, Gassi and Try also think that this is the case. These are the 2 videos. I am looking for them. This is bullshit, is 1 video. And this is crazy. This is the other video. In these 2 videos, I talk about how they are releasing new sockets, socketables that we are not going to use because we are using the sockets to fix resistances. So basically, give me ways to solve resistances so I can use the sockets. People told me I was wrong. And look, they asked the question. I feel so validated. And Gassi also thinks the same as me. And I know for a fact that Gassi is a better player than me. So I feel validated because of that. I feel validated because of that, dude.
So basically in every interview and every topic and every conversations they've ever had regarding socketables is that they are supposed to replace the benchcraft. And they're supposed to help you navigate and adjust attributes and resistances so that when you have a high fire rest on your gloves and you find a new pair of gloves that happens to be an upgrade for you, but those gloves have a high lightning rest, you can't just equip them. Now you're going to have to shuffle 1, 2, or more items to be able to equip that upgrade. And
or fix it with runes. But if you are using the sockets for the new worksheet, then you can do it. Do you understand how everything goes out of whack?
That can be very frustrating solo self-fun, but in Trade League, that means you finally find an upgrade on the ground, but the only way you can equip it is to go to trade and buy a bunch of other items to be able to equip that, and it's been very frustrating.
Yep.
I sent Jonathan a message a couple of days ago asking about their stance regarding the availability of something like adding an omen to allow us to have resistance swaps that we have from Harvest mechanic in PoE1. And Jonathan told me that he was going to be talking to Mark about this. I haven't heard back from it around this. The answer we got on the interview here for the Talkative Try is that they basically saying with better gear, you're expected to have so much better resistances and attributes that this.
We destroyed these allegations when we went to PoE Ninja and we look at the top 10 characters in the league in PoE Ninja level 100, and they are still using runes to fix their resistances. So argument that completely destroyed in there. I know that some people say, no, but I fixed my resistances without using the runes. Yes, you did. It requires investment. It requires you looking for it. Not everyone is going to do it. It is not good design. Just because you can solve the problem doesn't mean there is not a problem in there.
This shouldn't be a problem in the higher end game. I just feel like maybe I'm playing the game in the wrong way, but even with extremely high min-max characters, I'm still using at the very least 1 or 2 resistance.
Brother, validation! Validation! I was right! Gas is saying it here, what I just said. Even with a lot of investment, you still need to use 1 or 2 runes to fix your resistances. Dude, validation, validation.
Runes across my gear, and so I'm not. I don't know. I don't know. I like it. It just feels a bit odd. But if they added at least a resistance swap omen, I think that would solve a lot of issues for a lot of people, especially throughout the middle of endgame. But even more so in the higher endgame.
Agree completely with this take, Gassi. I am so glad you bring this up. I am so glad you sent this question to both Jonathan and Try, and they talk about this because I think this is important because it feels like a contradiction in their own design philosophy. You want me to fix resistances with runes, but you are releasing sockets that are on those spots and runes are supposed to be the crafting bench, but then you give me this. What am I supposed to do? I don't have enough ways of fixing resistances. What? So, hey, thank you very much, Gassi, for this. And yes, I agree. If you don't want to give me the resistance swap, give me another thing. It doesn't have to be necessarily the resistance swap, but something. Give me something that makes it easier so that I can use the socketables to not waste 2 or 3 of my sockets on runes. I am fine using one in very end game. Okay, using one to fix one of the resistances. Fine, cool. But having to use 2 is already like you can only use runes in 4 pieces of armor. I know that weapons is another shit, but we are talking armor in here where you can fix resistances. So if I take two slots, I am already half my armor is taken away. So, dude. With better gear, yeah, Jonathan, not everyone has 300 divines to spend in one perfect item. Exactly, dude, exactly. So you can fix it by heavily investing in your gear. But my argument is that the majority of people never see that amount of currency to get a character to that level. So since these people are not getting to that point, they are not going to use the new sockets. So you are effectively creating content for a very small amount of people because the vast majority of your player base are never going to interact with this content. At that point, why are you even doing it? I am not saying because people take everything to the other extreme. I am not saying give it to me for free. I am saying give us ways to accomplish it. Yeah, like, dude, you need to really good rings with great rest and a great ingenuity belt along with rest boots. Yes, exactly, dude. On point, Bob. Yeah, let us get 50-20% resistances of the 3 at least. Exactly, Mando. Exactly. Or give me 10% from the 3 and remove 10% from the penalty. Like, because right now you get like minus 40% after you finish the campaign. It is minus 60, but you get 20 from bonuses, and you get minus 40 when you enter end game. Instead of being minus 40, put it at minus 30. That will be helpful. 10% is 10%, dude. But should the majority of people get a character to that level? That is the point that I am saying, that the majority of people are not getting a character to that level. So you are creating content for people where the majority of people are not going to see it. And I understand there are like levels, there are tiers, but that is a problem. I am fine with, let's assume you have 10 tiers, from the casualest guy to the most hardcore guy. I am fine if these new sockets are only going to be seen by the top 3 tiers. But how they are right now, they are only going to be seen by the very first tier. And I think that is too much, right? What I am saying is, it is fine that it is chase, it is fine that it is somewhat rare, but it is too much. It is too much. That is what I'm trying to say.
Attributes was brought up briefly, and basically they want to look at gem requirements as they seem to be a bit too harsh on the requirements, which I think everyone can agree on.
By the way, reducing the gem requirements also helps you with sockets, not having to use attributes on sockets. Also, if they help you with the gear requirements, the gear attributes requirements is also too harsh. The harshest being the two-handed maces if you are going to dual wield them. If you have not played a warrior using a two-handed mace in one hand, you don't know what pain is trying to solve a strength for that shit.
Wasn't anything else of value that I think we should bring up here regarding that in the interview, but basically they want to look into it at least. Then the classic topic of movement speed was brought up yet again, and this will probably be brought up all the time. And Jonathan then said that the movement speed is the exact same in PoE 1 and 2. I had my moderator and friend Mr. Lolash verify this because I wasn't certain. And it has been confirmed and verified that we are indeed having the exact same movement speed in PoE 1 as we have in PoE 2. Difference is that we have access to Quicksilver Flask, which is a 40% movement speed buff, which is higher roll than the highest movement speed you can get on any pair of boots in Path of Exile 2. which basically means that because of the access to Quicksilver Flask, just you running is already at a baseline significantly better in PoE1 because of Quicksilver Flask availability. Then you can couple that with the fact that we actually have consistently spammable usage of mobility skills, which we do not have. Well, if you take away the idea of rake and disengage, which we saw everybody using in the race, we don't really have any mobility skills in PoE2. But we do.
You guys know that I am not the biggest complainer about the movement speed in PoE. I think that movement speed is fine. I would also be okay with a 5 to 10% baseline buff or giving us more ways of moving faster. I am fine with that. Like, I don't care. I don't want Tsum, so I think that they need to be cautious with the mobility skills. That is what you have to be cautious, because that is what creates a Tsumminess, not necessarily the movement speed, unless you get out of control. But how it is right now, I am fine, and a slight buff would also be fine. But a thing that I want to point out is that they say that we have the same movement speed as in PoE1, and yes, probably statistic-wise we do. But movement speed is also relative, right? Like, I don't know, maybe they can measure things in pixels or in, I don't know, square pixels in the screen in the game, in the game engine or whatever. But the movement speed is relative to the size of the map, to the size of the character, to the size of the things you interact with, to the size of the monsters, to the distance that you need to traverse. Like, the movement speed is relative in this case. Am I crazy? Am I saying something stupid? I think that even if you move at the same speed, but you need to traverse something twice as long, you will feel slower, right? It is relative. It is, I don't know. The point being, I don't think that movement speed is that bad. It can be buffed a little bit. But I also think that just saying, no, it is the same movement speed as in PoE1 is a little bit disingenuous, because maybe the number is the same, but in feeling it is not the same because of all the other external factors that influence every game in a different manner.
Have that in PoE1. That is why the speed difference is so much faster. We have Quicksilver, which gives us a 40% more movement speed than we have access to in PoE2, but also the mobility skill does play a very large factor here. And another topic that I wanted to bring up during this interview was rarity. In PoE1, when you drop a unique item, that unique item will be a random from every unique item that exists in the entire game. The pool of a unique item that will drop is just going to be taken from all of the unique items. Whereas in PoE2, the system is made so that if you drop an amulet, that amulet could roll a unique, and then that will be a unique amulet. If you drop a mace, that could roll a unique, and there will be a unique mace. This makes it so that certain item bases that are rarer than others, such as amulets, makes it so that amulets that are unique are vastly more scarce than other types of base items. This made it so that such as chase items like Astrament,
the rarity compounds, basically.
This is astronomically rare. And this is being addressed, and the way they addressed it from what Jonathan said is that they're making it considerably more common. But this means that you'll whenever you drop an amulet, you'll now be more likely to find a unique amulet rather than a magic right rare one, which basically means that you'll have less non-magic amulets as a result of this fix, but you'll have more unique amulets. So I'm not sure if
this makes me think that we need the Orb of Scouting in PoE2. What do you guys think about getting the Orb of Scouting in PoE2? Would it be too OP, or would it be fine? Because that will be a solution to this problem that Gassi is describing in here, right?
That's a great change, because amulets are already rare by default. On the other hand, if you want normal, white, rare magic amulets, you could always gamble them for gold, I guess. I'm not sure how big of an issue it is, but I did want to bring it up as it was brought up in the interview. A big shout out to Talking to Try for this interview. I think that it had quite a few solid questions. It's always hard to have Jonathan or Mark in on an interview.
I also think that the interview was a W. There was a lot of new information in there that we didn't know. And yes, we have a lot of new stuff confirmed. Again, I am very positive about the future of the game. I think they are making a lot of good decisions. Like, in all of this, the only thing that I disagree with the socketables, and I think they will come with a solution at some point, I have faith about that. But everything else is a W. Like, it is hard to not be optimistic about the future of the game. At least for me, I am really optimistic because I already love the game how it is. And I see that it is improvement and that it is continuing to improve. So I am really positive about this one.
And when I say that, I love doing it, don't get me wrong. But what is hard is that when we ask questions, they have so much passion for the game. So they just go on and talk about it. And I love doing that. But it means that when you prep 50 questions, you get through half of them in that time. And I think that Talking to Try did a very good job with this interview, going through as many questions as he did. And we got...
Exactly. It is cool that Jonathan and Mark explain things very well with that passion because we understand where they are coming from. That is awesome. But at the same time, that extends the interview and then you don't have enough time. So it is like, to do a proper interview with them, it needs to be a 5-hour interview, right?
Some valuable questions answered, and this is the TLDR of the things that stood out the most for me personally. Either way, I'll let you guys check out the full video in the descriptions down below. Hope you guys like this little TLDR recap from me. Hit the like button, subscribe for more content, all of that jazz. It helps the channel out, and I appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in the next one. So till then, stay safe and keep rocking.
Hey, keep rocking, dude. Hey, that was a nice fucking video, guys. I loved it. And we talk about a bunch of cool shit. Yes, we talk a little bit about it, but hey, we talk about it more. We go deeper. We dissect everything that is happening in here. So thank you very much for the video, guys, my dude. What do you guys think? Am I right? Am I wrong? Am I a clown? Am I a genius? Let me know everything in the comments below. I love reading comments even when they don't agree with me. Also, remember to like the video, to subscribe to the channel, all that cool stuff. Guys, thanks for being here. You guys are awesome. God bless you. And remember, don't be afraid ever because this is just a ride.